I'm Pat Doris, and welcome to The Story. Tonight's big story is about a massive public works project that will eventually benefit hundreds of thousands of people in the Portland area. We're talking about a water treatment plant that will make sure our drinking water is clean and safe, so that's a good thing. But the price of building that thing, it's skyrocketing. And the people who live near the proposed plant, they hate it. Environmental reporter Cale Williams spent some time talking to them about their concerns and also spoke to the Water Bureau about just how this project got so expensive and why they say it's necessary.
Ian and Lauren Corder bought their home about 20 miles east of Portland to get away from it all. They've got 4 kids and 10 acres of blueberries growing on their property tucked in the trees just beyond those green water towers.
We moved out here really for the serenity of this site, for its natural resources and the opportunity to essentially have a small hobby farm.
But the Corders and many of their neighbors, they fear that serenity is at risk. That's because the Portland Water Bureau wants to build a 50-acre treatment facility on this piece of property nestled among ornamental tree farms near the border of Multnomah and Clackamas counties.
This is a ridiculous proposal in the wrong location. The plant should be located near or in the city of Portland inside the urban growth area. It's that simple.
Portland gets its water from Bull Run, a pristine 100-square-mile watershed on the western flank of Mount Hood. For years, the water from Bull Run was so clean, the city was given an exemption from a federal rule requiring treatment of surface water. But in 2017, the pathogen Cryptosporidium showed up in routine testing, and the Oregon Health Authority said the city, they'd have to start treating their water. They had a few options to consider, but David Peters, program director with the Water Bureau, said the city ultimately decided to treat its water through a filtration process.
Filtration allows us to provide a greater level of resiliency in our water to protect us now and into the future from things like turbidity events. When we have rainstorms and we get mud into the water, we'll be able to take that out. Whereas right now we may have to turn our system off.
The city promised the state they'd begin treating water no later than September 2027. And they chose the site near the Corders' home because it can be gravity-fed from Bull Run, no pumps required, and it's close to other water pipelines already in the area. And after 6 years of planning and design, the city is getting close to breaking ground. But not if the Corders and thousands of their neighbors have anything to say about it.
I'm against it because it doesn't belong here.
The couple is part of the Cottrell Community Planning Organization, which counts more than 2,000 households and 200 businesses among its members.
It is unanimously opposed. There is not one person out here who wants this here because they know what it means.
Construction of the plant, which would take 4 or 5 years, would transform their quiet neighborhood into a bustling construction site.
But if you just pause for a moment and you listen, what do you hear? I mean, it's birds and the wind in the trees.
The city says the project would require roughly 116,000 truck trips to and from the site. And most of them would be along Carpenter Lane, a tiny road with no sidewalks, frequently used by farm equipment, and barely wide enough for 2 compact cars to pass each other.
During the school year, we have school buses and we have children walking to school, riding their bikes. We have runners and walkers.
The plan is also opposed by the Gresham Barlow School District and the local Fire Protection District. They both say construction and traffic would prevent them from performing their core duties, educating children and protecting public safety. Peter said the Bureau has done its best to work with locals to address their safety concerns.
It is hard, and I'm empathetic about the fact that we have to go through this construction period, but it is a short-term period in the relative comparison to the life of this facility. And that doesn't make it right. We're still working to do everything that we can to ensure that folks are going to be safe.
And then there's the cost.
Back in 2017, the original conversations were around $350 to $500 million.
The most recent estimate?
$1.865 billion.
That would make the plant the second most expensive infrastructure project in the city's history. Peter said a number of factors, pandemic-related supply chain issues, inflation, and a shortage of skilled labor, have caused the price to skyrocket. Costs have gone up so quickly that the total cost for the project, it went up by 24% in just the last year alone. And even Mayor Ted Wheeler balked when the Bureau presented the most recent estimate.
My concern is the 24% becomes another 24% next year, and then another 24% the year after that. And my question is, what's our fail-safe? At what point do we pull the plug?
There isn't really the option to pull the plug, though. At least according to Peters, who said there's no wiggle room in the agreement that says they must begin treatment by 2027.
We are concerned.
For the Quarters, their main argument boils down to how rural land is used. They point to the criteria for conditional use of the land, which says clearly that any new development cannot adversely affect natural resources.
These are very clear, easy to demonstrate impacts, and the code says if there's any impact, small or large, it's a no-go on agriculture or natural resources.
The city, they say those rules only apply to the plant once it's finished, not during construction.
We'll be working hard to ensure that our permanent facility is going to meet that criteria, and taking care of repairing any damage that we've done during construction.
Both sides argued their case in front of county land use officials late last month, but a decision will likely take a while. And no matter which side prevails, the decision is likely to be appealed, further condensing the construction period and potentially pushing up costs even further.
Cale joins me now. All right, what's this going to do to me as a water customer? Is my bill going way high?
Well, it depends on how you define way high.
More is way high.
Yes.
Okay.
So our water rates just went up by 7.9% within the last couple weeks. They will go up another 8.1% every year from now until at least 2028. And I know that 30% of that hike is to pay for the filtration plant.
Holy smokes. Okay. And why does it have to be built there?
Well, they considered a bunch of different places, I think 6 in total, and they came out with a report detailing kind of the pros and cons of each one. They thought about putting them up at the headworks, up at Bull Run. But to do it there, they would have to pump the water up. And right now, the whole system is gravity fed, so there's no pumps involved. They thought about doing it at Powell Butte, but they kind of ran into the same problem. Powell Butte is below where some of their other water customers are in Sandy, the West Slope Water District. So they'd pump the water down, treat it, and then have to pump it back uphill to get to those places.
Yeah, you can see that'd be a problem. Can the neighbors really stop it?
I mean, that's a question for the land use officials.
Yeah.
Each of them has an argument that they very firmly believe. The Quarters that I talked to out there, they said that they are, there is no doubt in their mind that they will prevail in the land use process. But whoever does, it's going to end up getting appealed to the Land Use Board of Appeals and possibly to the appeals court after that.
And that just drags it out even longer. It makes it more expensive, right?
Exactly. The longer you drag it out, the shorter construction window you have, the more people you have to have on site at once, and the higher the cost goes.
Oh my. All right, so when we've said this is the second most expensive, what's the first expensive?
Well, that answer is a little tricky. Technically, it's the big pipe. This is the big pipe that goes under the Willamette River, prevents sewage overflows, and that project cost $1.4 billion, and I think it was 2011. So with inflation, I put it into a calculator, it came out to 1.89. This one is at 1.865, I believe.
And probably growing. Yeah,
probably.
We'll see. All right, thank you. That's great stuff, Cale, as always. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
And we'd love to hear your thoughts about this. Some kind of water treatment is inevitable, but that price tag, it's eye-popping for sure. What's going through your mind? Email us, will you? The address is thestory@kgw.com or call and leave a voicemail. The number is 503-226-5090.